What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another video here exclusively on the YouTube channel of Review and Preview Sports, and I'm joined by a very special guest, good friend of ours as well, Alec Walt from Down the Block Sports. Alec, how's it going tonight?
It's going well. Today's been a crazy day in sports. Major League Baseball, NFL, college basketball. One of the more exciting days of the year, obviously, as a Patriots fan, and why I'm joining you today. There's one piece of news that I'm not too excited about. Hopefully that team out west does a very good job with this new addition. But, Tom, when there's all this news going on in sports, it's a great day, and I'm still looking forward to what this, as you can see here, J.C. Jackson can do with the Chargers.
Absolutely. Now, I want to talk to you about that. J.C. Jackson, arguably the top player in free agency, set to join the Los Angeles Chargers on a 5-year, $82.5 million deal. That's according to USA Today Sports, averaging $16.5 million per year. What was your reaction when you saw the Chargers, come to this agreement with J.C. Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, I knew he was going to get top-level corner money. I mean, he's been elite in New England. I mean, he has 22 interceptions in his last 3 years, 25 in his NFL career. I mean, there's a reason they call him Mr. INT. And he's been so successful that we knew he was going to get that long-term deal, and I had a feeling it wasn't coming with the New England Patriots. Now, you look at the Chargers, this was a move they had to make, in my opinion. They're a team that has stars on both sides of the football. I added Khalil Mack earlier in the offseason to pair with Joey Bosa. You know, they drafted Asante Samuel last year to go with Derwin James in a very good up-and-coming secondary, but they needed that outside shutdown corner to really kind of put together this defense. And in my opinion, this move makes a lot of sense for the Chargers. I mean, J.C. Jackson's that number one corner. They're signing him, and so they don't lose any draft picks or, other prospects to make this deal happen. They are in a division that got even tougher this offseason with the addition of Russell Wilson to go with some other very quality receivers like Tyreek Hill, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. We'll see what moves Oakland makes because they definitely need to add some receiver depth after an extremely unfortunate event that happened to them earlier during the season. But, to compete in this division in the AFC West, you need to have a quality secondary. You need to get to the quarterback. You need to have guys who can, add pressure to some of the other top quarterbacks in the league that are in this division. So, look at the Chargers team. I think this makes a lot of sense. They were able to have some salary cap. They were able to move around because Justin Herbert's still on a rookie contract. And when you look at teams around the league, when you have a QB that quality, you go and make those aggressive moves while they're still cheap. And they've added two very quality moves here in this offseason so far. And J.C. Jackson's exactly what they need in the outside of this defense.
You mentioned NFL best, 25 interceptions since entering the league, and this guy was an undrafted free agent. Nobody drafted him.
Crazy.
It's insane.
I mean, Belichick finds these guys at the cornerback. I mean, when you look at where Belichick's had to go with cornerbacks, I mean, he's had, the Revis, the Gilmore, Malcolm Butler had his stretch. I mean, it seems like Bill always has his number one guy, and whenever they move on from New England, they certainly get compensated for it. But he knows what he's looking for at the cornerback position and certainly found a gem there with J.C. Jackson.
Yeah, and this past season played in all 17 games, the 8 picks, as you mentioned, and led the NFL with 23 passes defended. So, as you mentioned, Bill Belichick loves all his ducks in a row. But as far as J.C. Jackson goes, with this signing, what does it mean for the cornerback market for the rest of this free agency period?
Well, when you look at the free agent cornerbacks, it seems like him and Stephon Gilmore were truly the number one shutdown cornerback guys. When you look at the rest of this list, I mean, Joe Hayden, Kyle Fuller, Patrick Peterson, Jason Verrett, Xavier Rhodes, Jimmy Smith, AJ Bouye, all of them are solid veteran pieces, but, they're a little bit past their prime, in my opinion. They're guys who have been number one cornerbacks or near number one cornerbacks in the past, but, they're a little bit older. And when you looked at the cornerback market, obviously it's a premier position. We've seen players sign long-term extensions of that caliber, earning around the salary Jackson is making. So, when you looked at this free agent list, it was really Jackson, then Gilmore, then really everyone else. So I do think Gilmore will receive a nice salary. He's someone who certainly had a bounce back when he was traded from the Patriots to the Carolina Panthers. Obviously a little bit I don't know if he's going to be as dominant as he was when the Patriots won the Super Bowl a couple of years back. He has dealt with some pretty brutal injuries, specifically one to his Achilles, which is one that's not the easiest to recover from. But, I still think there's some solid cornerbacks in this class, and cornerbacks will obviously receive a nice salary. If you have the ability to shut down an opposing wide receiver, you're going to make money for it. But now when I look at the rest of this list, there's a clear gap between what Jackson was and what the rest of this class is, in my opinion.
Right, he's crazy, and he's definitely a top 5 corner in this league, which is insane to think about. You mentioned what the Chargers have in Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, a solid young linebacker in Kenneth Murray Jr., secondary that features Asante Samuel Jr., Derwin James, J.C. Jackson, all playing for a tough-nosed Brandon Staley defense, and that's where they needed to improve, the LA Chargers. Their offense was great this past year, but their defense is where they fell off a little bit. Where does this put them amongst the AFC West? Because it's been a real crapshoot so far this offseason. A lot of people are debating who the favorite is. And going in, it was, will it be the Chiefs? Will it be the Chargers? And now you have to throw the Broncos into the mix as well.
Yeah, I mean, until someone takes down the Kansas City Chiefs, even though they are losing some secondary pieces in a pass-happy division, until someone dethrones the king and Patrick Mahomes in that division, I still think going into this offseason that the expectation, in my opinion, unless something unfortunate happens, is that the Kansas City Chiefs are still the elite team in this division. Now, when you look to the rest of this list, you have 2 elite-level quarterbacks in Russell Wilson and Justin Herbert, one very, very, very good quarterback that people seem to forget about in Derek Carr, and I do think the worst team in this division is the Raiders. Good luck to Josh McDaniels, who left New England to go to Las Vegas to coach this team. But this is how I look at the Broncos and the Chargers. I do think when healthy, I think Russell Wilson is absolutely unbelievable. I do think both teams have very solid pieces, weapons. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. Both teams have very good running backs, Austin Eckler and Javonte Williams. Both teams are good, not great on the offensive line, young coaches. One's more defensive oriented, the other's more offensive oriented. I still think right now, due to the high impact additions on the defensive side of the football, that I think there's a little bit of an edge right now with the Chargers over the Broncos. I do think the Broncos are a very good team. I do think both these teams have the chance to make the playoffs. We had Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson to an up-and-coming defense. It's hard to take that away. Now, Chubb's coming back. No Shelby Harris. They still have, 2 very solid pieces in the secondary with Simmons and the guy they drafted, Surtain, out of Alabama. Denver's no joke. I mean, they're going to split this year. They're 2 very, very good teams. But, one's a first-year head coach, one coached last year. One is a brand-new QB with new wide receivers. The other's a QB that's been working with this entire class. So right now I'll give the slight edge to the Chargers, but let's be real here, Tom. There's been times where the Chargers should have won where they haven't. And there's times where they've lost on block punts and block kicks and missed field goals and just terrible ways to lose football games. Hopefully the Chargers can find a way to get over that in 2022 in a very tight division, because that'll really hurt you when you're playing teams like the Raiders and the Broncos and the Chiefs. But right now, I'll go Chiefs until someone proves to me that they can stop Patrick Mahomes. Chargers with the high-level defensive players. Broncos number 3, which can very easily change because Russell Wilson, when healthy, can really take anyone anywhere. And then the Raiders, they need to make some real additions to the offensive side of the ball. I'm not really buying that Bryan Edwards and Waller's legit, but they need some pieces to help offensively. So that's where I think they stand right now going into the rest of free agency.
It's going to be very interesting to see how it all unfolds. And I do have one last question for you. You mentioned Stephon Gilmore. Could a potential Patriots reunion be looming for Stephon Gilmore?
I hope so. I don't think it's realistic, unfortunately. He had some not so nice words to say after he was traded. I know there was some issues with him and Belichick during his time. Belichick's a guy who has rubbed players the wrong way at times. Unfortunately, the reality of the business of football can lead to things like that. But, Stephon has won a Super Bowl with the New England Patriots. Stephon was the best cornerback in football at times when he played for the New England Patriots. And Like I said before, we've seen cornerbacks be number one shutdown guys in New England, from first-round picks to undrafted free agents. Now, Belichick's certainly going to have to make some moves here in the secondary. He did add one key piece in return with McCourty, who's going to be returning on a 1-year, $9 million deal. So that's certainly going to help the Patriots on the back end. They have Duggar and other pieces like that. They have some depth in the secondary, which is okay. I'm still worried about having that number one shutdown guy, which will be interested to see what direction they go in. But I would love Stephon Gilmore to return to New England. I'm still hesitant on if the Patriots and him will come to an agreement after the way things ended in his career last year, before he was traded for, I think, like a 6th-round pick or something like that for Gilmore to go to the Carolina Panthers. Heck, if I'm the Panthers, why the heck not keep him? I know things are different for the Panthers now with Tom Brady returning, but no more AJ Bouye. They have what's his name coming back from South Carolina, J.C. Horn, who injured himself earlier last year. They're an up-and-coming team. They certainly could use him there. I know they're trying to find a way to upgrade the quarterback position. We've heard rumors about Deshaun Watson. They're not exactly sold on some of the other pieces on the roster, but I would love to see it, Tom. But I unfortunately think, due to the way things ended, that he will go in another direction this offseason.
Well, folks, you heard it from Alec Walt. And yeah, that Tom Brady stuff too. It's been a crazy 24 hours for you Patriots fans.
Heck, why doesn't Gilmore go there?
Exactly, right?
Yeah. I mean, what are they losing? Carlton Davis?
They just re-signed him.
Oh, they did? Okay. I'm assuming, like, with Brady making that announcement, a lot of those players were like, heck yeah, I'm coming back. But that's the Tom Brady effect.
Exactly.
That's, I saw it when I was in New England. When people are loyal to Brady, they don't want to leave. And I thought it was weird when Gronk had not yet announced his retirement. I was like, what's he waiting for? Now, could he come back? Could he stay? Could he go back with Tom another year? Who knows? But yeah, there's a lot of things could happen here this offseason. But it'll be interesting to see where Gilmore ends up and what Bill does here to improve the depth at the cornerback position after losing J.C. Jackson. But in Bill I trust. I was worried about him losing cornerbacks all the time, and he seems to find the Malcolm Butler and the J.C. Jackson guys you'd never heard of to secure that number one spot. So we'll see what happens. Bill's got some time on his hands, but he's been a little quiet today. Not too much going on here in New England. I think it was Matthew Slater.
Not much.
McCourty was the other day. I think they brought back Ferentz, I think his name is, a depth offensive lineman, because they lost another lineman to the Cincinnati Bengals, who, we all knew what direction they were going here this offseason. But it'll be an interesting time. But I feel like someone, Tom, you and I have never heard of, or probably have heard very little about, will end up coming to New England next year and joining this secondary crew to hopefully shut down an offense that absolutely embarrassed them in playoffs last year.
Well, we'll hope for the best for your New England Patriots and for J.C. Jackson, who is now a Los Angeles Charger. Walt, where can the folks listening find you?
You can find me on Down the Block Sports. I am on YouTube only. So if you Google that, or if you search that Down the Block Sports, little DTB logo in black and white, that is me, where I'm going to post all my exclusive content on my YouTube channel.
Folks, that's Alec Walt. I'm Tom Scavetta. Make sure to go follow us as well at Review and Preview Sports below. You can see scrolling across our ticker. Walt, want to thank you very much. One more time for you hopping on here quickly on this short notice. And
no problem.
Yeah, hope you all have a good one, folks.